B'Shem Hashem Natzliach, we are dealing with the Kavanot of Pesach, B'ezrat Hashem. So we explained that the Pasuk of Zmanim is parallel to the Pasuk of the Yamim. The Yamim works 6,000 years, 1,000 years, 100 years, 10 years, 1 year, summer, winter, 6 months, and then in each month there's Rosh Chodesh and 4 weeks. In each week there's 7 days, and that's how we build it. And each day there's Shachrim and Charvit, Kelim, Imtzaim, Pnimim, Imtzim, Chitzonim. But this Partzufas Manim is much higher because it started earlier, and it's considered to be like Arubot Shamayim Keneged Tipim Tipim Shalmayim. So when Chag comes along, so the writers are Chesed Gura Tiferet. The Zohar says, it's from the Zohar Kadosh, Chesed is Pesach, and Gura is Chesed Gura is Yamim Noraim, and Shavuot is Partzuf of Tiferet. So everything we do on Pesach is for the Partzuf of the Chesed of the Partzuf of Zmanim. Okay, so now we come along and we want to understand what is it that we have to fix. So we've explained before, whenever we talk about the Partzufim of Atzilut, our job is to build Zun. Specifically, the men build Zah, usually except for Yom Kippur, we always deal with Zah, and the women, they deal with Nuk. Okay, so we have to build up Zah, and Mimela Nuk could also get fixed. So now the Zah itself has 5 Partzufim. What are the 5 Partzufim? Atik Varich is one Partzuf called the Keter. Abba Vema Ilain is called Chochma, right? And then the third one is Yasut, or Ima, right? Akolele. It's the same thing. And then you've got the other 2, Zah, Nuk of Zah. Zah, Nuk of Zah is fixed, Misheshem Beberesh. We don't have to do it. It's done for us. So we always have to do Bina, Chochma, Keter. Or Yasut, Abba Vema, Arich V'Nun. Yeah? That's what we're always building, those 3 parts of him. That's always our avodah. Even in Shmona Esrei, we explain Shema, Shmona Esrei, etc. We have to do the Achor, which is Yasut. We have to do Yasut, which is the Achor, and then Abba V'Ima, and then we do the Panim, Yasut and Abba V'Ima. When is the Keter? When is the Keter that we do every day? Right? Mincha Erev Shabbat. Oh, yeah. And that's for the 1 week. And then for the whole month is on Rosh Chodesh. Understand? But Mincha Erev Shabbat is the Ktarim of all the 7 days of the whole week that we didn't do. Right? Because we're only doing Yasut and Abba Ve'ema. Right? And each one has a tzelim of 10 sfirot. So this is stuff will be done. So now, Kidugmata, in a similar way, on Pesach, we take that chesed and we have to divide it into the Partzufim of Zah and Nuk. So everything we have to do, we have to build up Zah and then give it to Nuk. What Zah? Zah is Chamisha Partzufim. Vak is metukan already, meaning the Zah Nuk of 1. You got 1. Let's look at these pictures. It may be easier to look at it. Look on page 3. We're not going to have time to do Arabic today, but we've got page 3. I'm just trying to open it up on the screen, and then we're ready to go. Who would like to have a go of explaining what's going on over there on page 3? Anyone have a go describing what do you see is going on over there? I'm not finding maybe Shel. On the left, yeah? Page 3? Page 3 on the left. Right? So there's Achor and there's Panim. Mochin the Achor on the right, Panim on the left. Lel Seder. Yeah? I'm almost there. Is that the Shem? Pesach. There we are. Rabbi Shaul. Just open this up. So you see over there on the left, you got Achor Panim, and then you've got the right side, which is Abba and Ima, and the left one, Yasud, then again Abba, Ve'ima, and Yasud. See? Yeah. All I have to do is be Mishatef this, and then we should all be together. Very good. Very in business. Versteht? Okay, so I'll make this a little bit smaller. We can see over here that in our Haggadah, you see the whole Seder has got 50 different things that you have to do. 50. In this system, there should be, say, 50.
50 Shel Bina?
No, it's just a number that it came out that way. Nothing, nothing official. Nothing official. So how does it work? So if you look on the right side, you see the blue ones? That's Abba Ve'ima. So you've got Abba Ve'ima, right? Now really inside Abba Ve'ima, if you look on the top, you see Abba's in the middle, Abba Ve'ima, and then outside you got Yasu. You see the picture? It's on the screen. It's not in the Haggadah, but it's in these notes over here. So you can see now inside Abba Ve'ima is Keter. And around Yasud is Zah, and around Zah is Nuk. The Chamisha Partsufim. You understand? They're like cylinders around each other, the different heights. That's officially how it is, okay? So when we talk about the Haggadah, a little bit of background. We don't have a Haggadah so we have a Haggadah of the Rashash, with Haggadamot that she wrote, explanations, but we don't have a Sidur of Arbit, which the Rashash gave us Kavanot for. We don't have a Sidur Rashash and Arbit. We have Radam. The Radam was a Chavrutza and Talmid of the Rashash, and he was about the Baal Tfilah as well, the Radam. David Majar, very important about Sefer Chazdei David on Etz Chaim, very massive Talmid Chacham Mekubal in Limud. And we have his Haggadah, and we have also his Sidur. Now, not everything he did is 100% Rashash. I mean, we're going to have time to go through all of it. The thing is like this. We know from Shachrit and other mitzvot that we have to do that there's a Chor, and then there's a Nesirah, and then there's a Panim, and then there's Zivug. Right? Always you got Achor. What's Achor? Atbach. We know that from every day. Yeah? From Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Penakol, Melech Chazer, all that is building Nuk ben Atbach. And then you got Be'ava Nesirah, and then you bring down the Panim. The Achor we're doing from Memilat Echad until Be'ava, yeah, is all the Achor. What's the Achor? Yasut. That's just, Yasut is called the Achor. Yeah? And then you got the Panim, which is Abba Ve'ima. That's what it's like in Tefillah. Here, it's not like that. Here, in the Achor itself, there's Abba Ve'ima and Yasut and Keter, all the Chamim, and also in the Panim, there's 5. So the building blocks are different. Yep. But what's important is that if you look at all the Haggadot that there was until ever, in fact, that we have of the Rashash, there's one single Haggadah that does Achor and Panim until Rav Morgenstern and our Haggadah came out. The first time they've got a Haggadah in the world that goes through the Haggadah, yeah. And I was okay to do this with Rav Atiyah because during COVID we spoke around on the phone. And we published it. Baruch Hashem, it's one he uses, and it's very complicated in the sense to spend, once you know it, but to go through it and to create it took a lot of work. Now, why is this? Because Rabbi Shaul came along and he said, "Hang on a minute. You go through the Haggadah and you've got all these Hamshachat Mochin. What you're actually doing is you're bringing the Mochin of Yasut and Abba Ve'ima in a very complicated way. So the Shah Kavanot. When you talk about matzah, it's Abba. When you talk about the Abba Kosot, it's Ima. Yain yisamach levav enosh. Yain hamesamechet is Ima, the good wine. And then there's yain hameshacher, meshachlut, because supposed to get drunk. That's dinim, right? So we never want that, even not on Purim. There's no such thing as getting drunk, right? Jew doesn't need to get drunk. But then you've got wine, which is dinim, which you have to mematek through the Abba Kosot, which is Ima, and you got matzah, which is Abba, right? But that's what it says in Shah Kavanot. When you come into the Siddur, we find that it's not so simple because you've got Abba and you've got Yashas, and you've also got Tvuna and Ima, so you have to know when is the wine and when is the matzah. The Rashash came along and he was mesader that for us. But when we go through all the writings of the Rashash, we don't understand how to do the Achor and the Panim and the Nesirah in between. The Achor and the Panim. Right? Which means that every time we do any part of the Haggadah, what say you see in the Rashash's Haggadah, which one they call it, this is Rashash, Mochin, you have to know that's only half of the Mochin, because you only did either Achor Panim, whereas you have to have both Achor and Panim. Understand? So how to do it is once we know what you're supposed to do, then we have to know how to do it. Right? So where did Rabbi Shol write about it? In Shai Rachamim, he's got a Haggadah with notes on the Ale Nahar of Nissim Harari, Rafal Harari, right? The Ale Nahar. He wrote Haggadah on the Seder Pesach. Then he had a student called Rav Asher Zelig Margulias, who lived in Yerushalayim. And he wrote a lot of Svarim. And in one of the Svarim, back he mentions his Rebbe, Rabbi Shaul, said this, and it helps us as well. And Shari Hamim, which is Shrim, we mentioned that before. It's a book of questions and answers. Yeah. And there's this letter, Rav Eliyahu Marabi. Rav Eliyahu Marabi was one of his main Talmidim. Rav Yaakov Munsa and Rav Eliyahu Marabi were his Talmidim, who in the Shiurim, they wrote Haggadah in the Etz Chaim and the Shah Kavanot on the side. And from those notes, we learn a lot of things. Because remember, he was blind. Rabbi Shua was blind. We also know his Talmidim were Rav Yudah Ftaya and Kaf HaChaim, Yaakov Chaim Sofer. So, but in writing, in actual writings, Rav Eliyahu Marabi and Rav Yaakov Munsa, interestingly, actually, today you've got Rav Sofer in Eretz Yisrael. His mother is a Munsa and his father is a Sofer because he's the grandson of the Kaf HaChaim. And in both sides, he's from Rabbi Shaul. So now what we have now is a collection of different writings. Rabbi Yaakov Hillel, Rabbi Shmuel Chayeu, when he was still young, he started collecting all the Haggaot of the Sadeh. And he wrote a sefer called Peat HaSadeh, which recently got reprinted. And he writes in the Hagdama, anything he has managed to do in this world, any greatness he got from anything that he ever did, came from this sefer that he put together by collecting thousands and thousands of different notes of Rabbi Shaul and putting them together in one book called Peat HaSadeh. So that has everything in it. Today, that's what everyone uses as a source. So in this letter over here, right, it's one letter, one page, that's the front cover, this letter of Rabbi Eliyahu Marabi, he sets out what happens in Arvit and what happens in the Seder. And he says, whatever happens in the Seder, which is it's 50, we're saying 50 things that we have to do, right, is the Chitzoniut. Kedugma, the pnimiyut that you do in Arvit. So whatever you're doing in the Seder with the Yasut and the Abba V'imas, you have to do it in Shmona Esrei and Shema like you do in a regular Arvit. But you have to bring all those mochin down for the pnimiyut, which is the highest level. And then the chitzoniyut of that is what you do in the Haggadah. So the Haggadah is lower than Arvit. Right? Arvit is more important than the whole of the Seder night. It's the highest Arvit of the year in that sense. Right? So that we read Hallel. The Harizah says that's why you read Hallel, because it's a miracle how much goes on in one night. That's actually what he says. One reason you read Hallel is to thank Hashem. He says, yeah, but the miracles of what goes on in one Seder night is so vast and mind-boggling that you have to sing Hallel for that. Just to be so happy to appreciate what Kedusha is coming in during our week. Right? So now, I haven't got time to go through the whole letter over here because we'll have to spend at least a week on it to explain everything. But from here, you begin to explain how you set up these partsufim. And it's the Arvi and Haggadah. If you look where Abba Niba are, it looks like they're in different places. And we haven't got time to explain why that is, but there is a reason for it. Okay? But Bekitsur, what we've got is Achor and Panim, if we look at our charts again. And the Achor, if we start with that, the blue is the middle Abba Ve'ima, which is higher. It's a great higher Patsuf. And the lower Patsuf is Yasud, is the pink one. Can you see that? Can everyone see that? So you got 22, 21. Can you see that side? So above, if you look what's written above, what does it say? Gad Chochma Nikra Abba. Yeah? And underneath that, you've got the whole blue section called the Ima. Right? Vak de Chochma Nikra Ima. Right? And then on the left of that, you've got the pink ones, which is Yashas and Tfuna. Not so difficult so far. So far, so good. Now you have to break them up into Katnut and Gadlut. These are arachim, these titles that we're going to use are the titles that the Rashash uses, and they're true always. But it looks much, much more complicated than it is. Because really what we're saying is this. Vak is metukan. The first cylinder is metukan. Right? Second one, also metukan. Zun, right? Zanuk of za is metukan. The third one, we're calling it yasut. Yeah? Or ima kolelet. The third one is the pink one. Now, when you bring that third one, even in Shema of a regular day, that's called Kadnut Rishon, Gadlut Rishon. Rishon, that means a Partsuf Rishon that you have to fix. Then when you go to the next one, which is Chokhmah, which during the week you don't even touch it. You only touch it when you get to Yotzer Or of Shabbat. And from Nishmat Kochai, that's when you go into the Chokhmah. Right? So the whole week you're only in the Nai of Imah, of Yisrael Sabbath Tzvana, of the pink ones. You're only in the Nai of that. When you get to Kabbalat Shabbat, you get to the Chagat. And when you get to the first part of Shachrit from Korbanot to Nishmat Kochai, then you do the Chabad of that. Right? These are the Aliyot. And when you get to Baruch Hu and Yotzer Or of Shabbat, that's when you get to the blue one, which is called Chokhmah. And then during the week, we have Mincha of Shabbat, you do the Arich as well, the Keter. And say the night, we don't do the Keter. Arvit, we don't do these Ketarim. These Ketarim of Pesach is only done, when is it done? In Shavuot. Don't do it for the whole, it's automatically done in Shavuot. Okay, so what we have to build up, Rabotai, in Seder night, right? And one night is those two Partsufim. Kadnut Rishon, Gadlut Rishon, and the second one is called Kadnut Sheni, Gadlut Sheni. And in a Lashon of the Rashash, the third Partsuf of Keter, which we don't do, will be Kadnut Shlishi, Gadlut Shlishi. You understand? So everything on the left side, the pink ones, is Rishon. Kadnut Rishon, Gadlut Rishon of Yashas, and then below it, Kadnut Rishon, Gadlut Rishon of Tvuna. And the same thing in Abba Ve'ima, Kadnut Sheni, Gadlut Sheni, Kadnut Sheni, Gadlut Sheni. You see it? The yellow titles? You have to memorize this, because this is the way, this is your mift, call it mafteach. It's your key into understanding what's going on. If you don't get the way the Lashon is, then we'll get, get all confused. Remember, the Partsuf that you build first, which is the same as what you do the whole week until Shachrit of Shabbat, is Kadnut Rishon, Gadlut Rishon. Then when you get to Chokhmah, which is the blue one, Abba Ve'ima, then that's Kadnut Sheni, Gadlut Sheni for each one. Now, for argument's sake, Kadnut Rishon is called Vak Devak. You can understand what I'm saying. The bottom half of the box is called Vak, and then you got a Gar and Vak in that. Yeah. So Gar Devak is Gadlut Rishon, the Tvuna. Yeah. Vak Degar is Kadnut Rishon the Yashas, and Gar Degar would be the Gadlut Rishon the Yashas. And the same thing with Abba Ve'ima. Right? Gar Vak of Gar and Vak. Okay, that's how it works. Everyone's okay? The Gadlu and the Katnu is the same as Gar and Vak as well. So the Katnu will always be the Vak of so if you're doing Tfuna, and Tfuna in the top heading of Tfuna, it says Vak de Bina, it's a Vak of Bina, and Yashash is the Gar of Bina. So within that Vak, you break it down again in Katnu and Gadnu, you can also call it Gar and Vak. So you have Gar de Vak, the Gar de Uvak. Yeah, Gar Uvak, the Gar Uvak. That's basically what you have to do. Okay, so these are all breaking it down to different. And I've got everything in the Achor, you've also got in the Panim. Now it says in the Sfarim HaKadoshim, especially if you're a fan of the Ramchal, that on Pesach night you get a blitz of all of these parts of film that you have to, all in one night, you have to do the whole thing. איזה ניגון אתה עושה? קדש ורחז, כרפס יחז, מגיד עוקסה, מוסים עפה. מוריד הגשם. Okay, so משיב הרוח, מוריד Okay, so this, you go through the 15 different paths. It brings so much awe into the world that you're flying, your head is flying. Kedusha is beyond this. It's can't believe the otzem Kedusha that there is in one night. And as soon as you finish the Haggadah and you do the end, the last bit, and there's all zivugim like Sim Shalom, it all mistalek, all goes away. And you have to do the whole thing again during the Omer from the beginning. And this time it takes 7 weeks to do the same bechinot here, exactly the same bechinot of the Achor and the Panim. You have to do the whole thing again, and it takes 7 weeks. And each day of the Omer is one bechina within this, kedugmata. Torah explains there's actually Shlosha Partsufim. Pesach Nai is the Nai, the Omer is the Chagat, and in Shavuot you have to do the Habad. They're all part of a one long maslul that builds up. Because the Torah says there's no such thing as mistalek. Whenever it says it's something called siluk hamochin, it's not mistaber, it's not rational. If you want to talk about metaphysical ideas, but it's not a rational idea, meaning like this. Once you bring down mochin into the kilim, you can't send them back up. They're there forever. What does it mean siluk? So Chacham Yosef Chaim explains based on the Torah Chacham. Siluk hamochin means you move to something bigger. And it's like that never came now, because that's nothing compared to what you're doing now. Something so big that's like that didn't happen. So now you're working somewhere else. You're starting from scratch again. But it doesn't mean what you brought down is not there. It just means it's not significant compared to what you're doing now. Relatively. So that's called siluk hamochin. So the Torah Chacham says as soon as you finish Pesach night, okay, it might take you a couple of days to recover from what happened. But now you start next night Omer, something much bigger. It's called siluk hamochin. But the lashon of the Ramchal and the other Mekubalim, siluk hamochin means really they go back out, and you have to bring the same ones back again. But how can you bring it back? It already came down. Shema said the Shemetz has a kushai. He says, how can you make a bracha on the Omer what's the Aliyat Rafach? You already took them up. And you brought them down. You can't do Aliyat Rafach again. They're not in the kippur anymore. So you can't take them out of anything. So he says the bracha, maybe according to those who hold like that, is not for the Omer. It's for the mitzvah from the Torah of Terag mitzvah. But it's not connected to these mochin of this chesed of Pesach and etc. Understand? So that's another point. So what we're doing on Seder night is we want to build up the partsufim of Yashut and Abba Ve'ima. And Rabbi Shel came along and said, you have to do Achor and Panim as well. So you have to know where you're doing it as you go along. So we're going to go now in the last 20 minutes, B'ezrat Hashem, and we'll go Keseder, we'll read through all the 50 parts. So even if you don't get it completely, which I'd be amazed if anybody gets even 10% of it, because it's really complicated, right? In the sense of all the nitty-gritty. But you'll definitely understand that in the Seder there's a lot going on, and just get the basic concepts of what's matzah, what's yayin, v'chule. Okay. So now, if you wanted to build up these parts of film like we would do during the week, so we start at the bottom with the Nai, and the Nai has 7 days, and we start each day of the week until we get to Erev Shabbat, and then we finish on Friday the entire night. So when we start Kabbalat Shabbat, we can go to the Chaggat. You understand? So if we're now going to divide everything to Katnut Rishon, Gadlut Rishon, Katnut Rishon, Gadlut Rishon, we should start at the bottom with the Katnut. That's the best place to start, right? But we don't. Why don't we start at the bottom? So another sefer of the Ramazulai, the Knafrin Anim, it's all the Kavanot of Dari in it. So it explains that there's a danger of the pachad of the chitzonim. Because when you're starting, as soon as it becomes Pesach night, there's a lot of dinim. Right? That's why the Mitzrayim wanted to come and Chatzot and wanted to destroy Klal Yisrael. So you're starting off at the time of dinim. And then we have to bring them all the orot. So until we get to a place which you're built to a safe place, when is that? When the mochin of Abba comes, right? Until the mochin of Abba or something to do with Abba comes in, Abba Ve'ima is dangerous. So you can't start with the Kanot Rishon. So Kanot Rishon is Karpas, right? But the Kanot Rishon of Karpas, Rabbi Mordechai has proven that it's only the panim of the Karpas, not the achor of the Karpas. So therefore, the Mishnah says, "V'kana ben shoel ma nishtana halayla hazeh mikol halelot." Right. So what does that mean in the Mishnah? Why are you doing the karpas and tibul? Why are you doing tibul now? You need hamotzi lechem in haaretz, and then you start eating. Why are you doing a tibul before hamotzi? So why do you do it? Kidei sheishalu hatinokot. Right. That's why we do it. All the Persians, they hit people on the head with the leeks, right? Or the Moroccans, they bishelo bibhilu isyanu b'mitzrayim, right? And they go around in the head. Everyone does something different to make the children ask questions, right? So what's the real reason behind that? The real reason is that I don't understand why you're not doing Kanut Rishon first. Why are you doing it now? Should have done it first, the Kanut, then the Gadlut. You understand? The whole order is wrong, right? Because actually we do the Kanut Rishon at the end. We have to first bring in all the other three, right? So you bring Gadlut Rishon, Galut Sheni, Kanut Sheni, all of them. You have to bring everything else, and then last thing you bring in is the Kanut Rishon. Except for Abba, Ima, but not Abba. Abba's in the matzah, right? Top right hand quadrant, quarter, that's only in matzah. But the other ones we already bring from the first kusot, from the wine. So why is it? The Kana ben Shoel, I said, why are you doing Kana Rishon last and not first? Because Pachad HaChitzonim, because of the Gdinim. You can't give it, they'll take all the shefa. Yeah. So we have to do a special order in the Omer. It's called Ha'abgadvaz. If you look in the Shah Kavanot, the order of the days of how you do the tikkun of, it's the same bechinah over here, and it divides into Ha'av. Number 5 is level 5. Then 5 is the karpas. So the Kanut Rishon is on the 5th day, 5th night of the Omer. Ha, and then Av Gad, and then Vaz, because the hay is missing. Av Gad Vaz. Yeah, that's from Mordechai Sharabi. But it's the order which is in Shah Kavanot. So here too is the same order, Ha Avgad Vaz, which means that the fifth level, which should have been number 1, it becomes number 5. The first level becomes number 5. Ha is the 5th level, right? And that's the Kanut Rishon. As you look in Acharam, if you look over, you see number 5 at the bottom is Kanut Rishon. See that's number 5? It's the same. It's for the same reason that I just mentioned. So now we understand that the order is going to be different to what we would normally do, and that's what creates this whole complication. There's only really one more important thing to say in terms of the structure of it, and then the rest all falls into place. If you can do like a bingo. In fact, in our Siddur, she brought out a few years ago, and last year again we published. There might still be time to publish more if anybody really wants. We can get them published before Pesach. But in it's about 90, 100 pages. In us, we actually put like bingo cards, so you can tick the ticks and boxes. When you get to each place, at the end of each section, there's like a yellow tick and a yellow tick, and like a little table, so you can. Jeremy calls it bingo cards. You know, can tick them off. So let's start. So the last thing I want to mention is that there's Arba Kavim. That means you have to divide everything that we do into Kav Yamin, Kav Small, Chasadim, Begurot. Right? Just like each one Esra, you've got the Kriyovas Kifot. And the Kriyovas Kifot are connected the Shosheh Hamochin Shebaketer. Let's just stop for a second and explain what we mean, because we need this point. It's like that. The last like jigsaw piece in the jigsaw to make the whole thing be able to make some sense of it. That when we say we do Shmona Esrei, really the whole of Shmona Esrei, we've only done Arba Bechinot of the Keter, Shosheh Hamochin Shebaketer. Then the first bracha is the Chochmah. Keter itself has got 4 parts to it. The whole of Keter is only 4 parts, meaning in the head, there's 4 different parts. There's the right, left, and in the middle, Chasadim and Grot. Right? The Da'at is Chasadim and Grot. So you've got Chasadim the Da'at and Grot the Da'at. So and that's the whole Keter. There's nothing else. And then you got Chabad, and then you got Chagat and Nai. Okay, so really, Chabad, Sheba Keter, the Keter is, there's 2 Chabads. There's a Chabad, which is a Shosheh Chabad, which is in the Keter, means the Shoah Chochmah, and then Bina and Chasadim and Da'at, and Grot the Da'at. And underneath that, you got the Chabad, which is not the Chabad Amiti, it's the Chabad which is in the Da'at. It's another Da'at, right? And that's called Chabad. And that's Chochmah, Bina, and Da'at. And the Da'at also splits into 2, and it comes into the Guf, and it becomes Chagat and then Nai. Okay? So sometimes the middle one is split into 2, and sometimes when you talk about it being the Da'at, HaKolel, then it's only 1, then there's only 3. because in order to get from the head into the body, it has to go through this neck, which is very thin. So it has to become 3 and then become 4 again. Right? So in the Haggadah, we're going to have 4 sections to the Haggadah. The 4 cups of wine. So the first cup of wine is Mo'ach Chochmah. Everything you're doing in the first part of the Haggadah is all Mo'ach Chochmah. Right? Unless you get into the other mitzvot, when you get to the matzah and karpas, whatever, then we see there's extra things to do. But the general idea is that there's the 4 arba kavim are done joined in the 4 cups of wine. Second one is bina, which is mach bina. Third one, chasadim dedat, and the last one is gurot dedat. And the chasadim and the gurot are inseparable; they're always together. So when you're doing the third cup of wine, you have to mechaven that I'm doing the chasadim dedat is the ikar, and the other gurot gets schlepped along. When I do the last cup of wine, I'm being my avodah is in the gurot dedat, and the chasadim dedat is not the ikar, it's the tafel. Understand? So again, we're breaking up the Haggadah into 4 parts. Okay, so the end of the Haggadah, we've only done the Ketzer. What about the rest? The same thing with Shemona Esrei. When you get to Sim Shalom, you do the rest. The whole Shemona Esrei, all you did was Ketzer, which is called Abba Shosher Shema Ketzer. And then when you get to Sim Shalom, it's Baruch Atah Hashem or Sim Shalom, then you have to do the Achoron Panim of all of the Haggadah, or the Chabad, we call it Chabad. Can be called Haggadah as well. It's basically you've got 3 parts of film. Each one's got 4 things in them. So you do 4, then you do another 4, and then they go. And in that means Achor, Nesira, Panim, Zibug. Achor, Panim. That's what you're basically doing at the end of the bracha of Sim Shalom. So really, when a person is mechaven, he says Baruch Atah Hashem. It's a long kavanah until you get to Mevarech Tamim Shalom, because all that has to be done. So the whole Shemona Esrei, I only did 1 partzuf, which is the partzuf of the Keter. Sometimes called the Partzuf of Chabad, just to confuse you, right? But that Keter has got Arba Shorashim, and they're the 4 cups of wine that we have to do. Kedugma Shemona Esrei, we're doing the same thing over here. Now, when you do the Mo'ach Chochmah in the Haggadah, it's called Chacham. So all the Sfirot you have to bring down is only all the Patachs, right? Patach, Chacham, Chochmah, Chesed, Netzach, right? You got Patach, Segol, and Chirik. You'll see the first cup of wine, Chacham, Chacham, Chacham. If you look in the Shuvah Hashash, everything is Chacham. So now if you look inside over here, you'll see we've got number 1. Number 1 is Gadlut Rishon. Why are we starting with Gadlut Rishon? Can you see what Gadlut Rishon is? What's Gadlut Rishon? Well, if it's Rishon, that means it's in the pink one, because the blue one is Shani. It's the first part we have to fix. So there's a rule. Gadlut Rishon, you don't have to do anything for it. There's no Aliyat Rafach when it comes to Gadlut Rishon. Even on Shabbat, on Kiddush of Shabbat, on Yom Tov as well, any Yom Tov. When you're building up this part of film, Gadlut Rishon is a klal. Gadlut Rishon nichnas b'chvod Kiddushat hayom. When Shkia comes in, the Kiddusha comes in with it. So there's a mahloket whether you have to be mechaven on it b'chlal. Something it comes in by itself, right? Mimaila, right? But Rav Yevidal Quinka and my Rabbi Mordechai Tia, we do mechaven on it. And we mechaven that it came in because kedushat hayom bechvod, meaning I have to mechaven that it came in, right? Or the koch that brings it in, the koch kedushat hayom brings it in. That's what makes it come in, but I have to mechaven on it, right? So that's number 1, and number 2 above is the one of Yashas, right? That's about the Gadlut Rishon of Tvuna, and the Gadlut Rishon of Yashas comes in b'kedushat hayom, and we're doing the mochin of Achor. So when we start the Haggadah, before you do anything, you fill up your wine, your cup, the first cup, and you have to do all these kavanot on the Achor. So if you look at the top, it's on the next page now. Kadesh, בעוד שהכוס על השולחן לפני לקיחת הכוס. He mustn't touch the kos, because when you take the kos, that's already going to be a different bechina. Then you have to be moshech new mochin. So just having the kos on the table with the wine in it, that you could say you can be mechaven that b'koach kedushat hayom, the Gadlut Rishon of Tvuna and Yashas already came in. So that's number 1 and 2. You see over there, the 1 and 2. Then lifnei lekichat hakos. we have to do Abba B'tov Bedin, and we have to send up the birur of Kadlut Sheni, Gadlut Sheni, which is 3 and 4. If you look back on the other page of Ima. Why not Abba? Because Abba's matzah, right? So 3 and 4, we have to be mevared the birurim, send them up and bring down, then and be moshach the hamshachot. How? Al yedei likichat hakos. Then you take it in your hand. By taking it, but just by ochez the kos, 3 and 4 come in. And there's a kavanot, like we do the hamshachat mochin into the kelim. All this is the achor. That's 3, 4, and 5.
So what came in at 1 and 2?
Huh? 1 and 2 is galut rishon. They chak kedushat hayom.
Not the room.
No, you don't have to it because it comes in free. Memela. You have to be chaven on it now that it came in, and now you have to bring down the mochin.
You don't need to be Mavarel.
Exactly.
Yeah. Why do you not need to be Mavarel?
Because that was galut rishon, galut sheni. What about now? We're doing katnut rishon, so we're doing katnut sheni and galut sheni of Ima, 3 and 4.
Is that not continuation?
No, it's a different pasuf, a different birurim. Now, what we do with 3 and 4, when we do 3 and 4, we have to bring the birurim of all of Ima, even the ones which you see 34, 35, 44, 45, 14, 15. It's going to come in. You have to bring everything, and you keep out Gabaresh and Zah, and then you moshech. What you need is you go to the Haggadah. It's all above, waiting to come in, above the head of Zah. Like if you remember, when we did Rosh Hashanah, it was Al Gabaresh and Zah, and then you blow then we bring them down, right? Similar to that. Also in Be'ava, it's Al Gabaresh and Zah at a certain point. Okay, so I'm going to go a little bit faster now, so you just get a gist of a general outline of the whole thing. I'm going to get stuck in the nitty-gritty. So, Rabbatai, we did 1, 2, 3, and 4. What didn't we do? Right? The Kana ben Shoed. Why are you leaving the karpas till the end? And the answer is, you're going to bring the karpas last. But the chidush is here, after you learn Rabbi Shaul, when you're dealing with the achor, you do bring the number 5 when you do the first cup of wine as well. The karpas is going to be number 10, right? In the next section, in the panim. That's when you bring the karpas. So really number 5 is a bechinav karpas that you do during the wine, if you understand what I'm saying, right? In a lomdus way, right? Of course, it's the first cup of wine, so it's nothing to do with karpas. But the point is, it doesn't belong here, it belongs to karpas. But we'll see, we won't have time to, but there's a cheshbon why you do the achor now. So if that's what we should do, number 5, we should do as well over here. Which is, and you notice all of them are chachan, 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 and sometimes the numbers are covering it. But can you see what we've done? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is all chachan. Only the right cup in all of them. And that's the first cup. So now that was all the achor. Now when you make kiddush, when you get to melech haolam, then you bring down the panim. Right? So all this was before you took the cup and you lifted up the cup. And now we're going to do kiddush, right? We're going to bring down 6, 7, 8, and 9, which is the same bechinot in the panim. 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10 will be the karpas. Verstehe? Yeah. So in the first cup, we've done everything except in the first 9 bechinot we've done all chachan in the first cup. Yeah. Then we have to wash our hands for the tibul. There's kavanot for that, which we're not going to go into. And then we do karpas. Number 15 is karpas. Yeah. Now, if I would go through all the names that Katnu Rishon Bela, you'll get lost in it, right? Probably get lost in it because it's the first time we're doing it. But basically, what I'm telling you outside is simple to understand. Karpas is number 10. It's in the table. What number 10 is karpas. If you want to write it in the front, you could write karpas under number 10, so you know it's there. Now we finish karpas. We have to start the mitzvah of Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim, Magid. Yeah. Now the problem here, it's like Shavuot night. Shavuot night, the whole of the Omer, it takes 7 weeks, and you only build out Chabad Chaktam, but you don't do the Nai and the Keter of all these bechinot. And when you do them, you read the Psukim of Tanakh. So you have to be mashlim that all of the what you didn't do in the Omer. Omer has only got 7 times 7 nights, right? But we've got 100 sfirot, so we only got to do 50 in during the Omer. So when you mashlim the rest, when you read the Psukim on Shavuot night. So before you start the Shavuot night psukim, you got to spend about half an hour doing all the hamshachot of the Kavanot. Because when you read the psukim, that's when they come in. But you can't read the pasuk and like which pasuk do you do with which bit? It's too complicated. So the minhag is you do all the kavanot before you start reading. But they don't come then. The hamshachot is while you're reading. So too over here, Mordechai Atiyah points out, you have to do all the kavanot before you start reading Magid, but it's chal while you're reading it. Yeah. So first we have to do now the second cup. So we should go to number 11. So you see Kos Sheni on page number 6. Kos Sheni. So first of all, you have to say Galut Rishon and Kanut Rishon. Galut Rishon of Yashas and Tfuna came in because Kedushat Hayom. And you do 11 and 12. If you look on page 3, 11 and 12. Yeah? 11 and 12. See on the left? Moach Bina. 11 and 12. Right? It became now that we've done this much already, we can also do Kanut Rishon as well. We don't have to go and do it's a chidush because we last time we did 14 and 15 before what would have been 13. Here the order is different. So, but basically you bring it's all hamshachot mochin. You bring them down, right? So you did 13 and 14, and then 13. I mean which was the equivalent to the karpas, and that's before you magid. Then when you take the kos. Now you're talking about the course of the second course, which you know what that's going to be when you get to the end of the bracha. God Israel, exactly. Right? When you get over there, when you take the course, then you do the achor 14 and 15, and then you could do the mochin of the panim. Gal Israel doesn't have a melech haolam. Even if it's not the melech haolam for this. You don't have to. You don't need. You do it before you say the bracha. All of this. So then you could do 16, 18, 19, and then 17 after that, and then 20 and 21, meaning all of the left side, except for Abba, because Abba's matzah. Yep. And then we come to Motzi Matzah. So now we're going to switch over. What did we get up to? What number? 21. Right? So now we'll start Matzah. Now when you get to Abba, there's no worries about Chitzoni. Now you can go in the normal order. You start with 22. Can you see what 22 in Abba on the top right? We do the Achor. Now, when you do the bracha, from the words Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam, right? Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu is Shafa Chitzon. We didn't learn about Be'er bracha, so I'm not going to expect you to know that. But that is going to be the Achor. The Panim will be when you say the words Melech HaOlam. Of which beracha? Guess. Which beracha do you think you're going to bring down the mochin of Abba? Not Hamotzi. Hamotzi has got nothing to do with the Haggadah. Hamotzi is the bracha for bread. Birkat Nehenin. But the next bracha is Al Achilat Matzah. So all the Kavanot is an Al Achilat Matzah. Because that's the one just for the Chag, for the Matzah. Hamotzi, you'd have that anyway if you're eating bread, right? But Achilat Matzah is the main one. So all the Achor you're going to do in the word Baruch Atah Hashem. And when you say Melech HaOlam, then you switch to the Panim. That would be 25, 26, and 27 in the chart. Okay? And that's Motzi Matzah. It's more complicated than that because you've got Korech, which is Mitzvah D'Rabbanan. When you do a Mitzvah D'Oraita, it's in the Partsufim of Zun. But when you do a Mitzvah D'Rabbanan, it's in the Partsuf of Yaakov Rachel. So this Kavanah has to be done twice. These Kavanot of the Matzah, of the Achor and the Panim, meaning 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, has to be done twice. Once when you do Achilat Matzah, and when you do Masau Malor Velo Beracha Zecher Lamaqdash Be'alenu Yehudash Kelel Azaken Sheachar Chavach Lamavach Akshenem Masodorim Yochelu. You don't do it. Yeah. So the Korech, when you do the Korech, you're doing a Mitzvah D'Rabbanan. It's a big pilpul. What happens if you didn't do Haseva for the Matzah, Achilat Matzah? Can you do the Hasibah for the Korech and Beyotzi's Machloket, Marsham and Aderet, a very big Machloket. Ravad is don't you on it, right? You have to be Machmin and go back and do the whole matzah again. Because one is Doraisa, one is the Rabbanan. And when you got a Doraisa and a Rabban, you can't do them at the same time. The Gemara says it's Mevatel. The Rabban is Mevatel the Doraisa. It's a big pull about it. If you hold it's only a minhag, right, then it's not a problem because it's only minhag. But if you hold it's the Rabbanan, it's Mevatel. That's the actual Machloket. And it's Machloket between the Siddur of the Rashash and the Radam. Because the Radam calls it a mitzvah of Yaakov Rachel. He writes it in his Haggadah. The Rashash doesn't say this. It's minhag be'alma. So that's halakha. Machlok in halakha will be a machlok between the Rashash and the Radam. Anyway, it's a bit of pilpul. The pshat as well. But it will come out that all the matzah we have to do twice. One, the Raisa, which is in the bracha, achilat matzah, and one, the Rabbanan, later on we do the korech. Okay? There's no kavanot for maror. No kavanot for maror. And what's left now, Rabotai? It's very simple what's left now. 2 more cups of wine and we're finished. So when you get to the Birkat HaMazon, before you start Birkat HaMazon, we do the Achor of the 3rd cup, right? Which is going to be, it should be 28, if I can find it. Where's 28? Habibi? Where's 28? Can you find it? Where? Top left. 28? No, yeah. Very good. See, now we start with Kavanot Rishon. We haven't got a problem. Yeah. So that you see that this Mechila 28 is part of the matzah. There's one more Bechina which is called Kavanot Rishon de Yashas. Now this Kavanot Rishon de Yashas, we didn't do it. We never touched Yashas. See where 24 is? It's all matzah because Yashas has got a Bechina of Abba. So there's no wine when it comes to that. Right? So that's to do with the matzah. The rest of Yashas, you've got 28, 29, 30, right? And 17, actually, we already did way before. But this law of Kavanot Rishon de Yashas is a very interesting pilpul and makloket. We've done according to Rabbi Shaul. There's a stira and the Rashash, and we follow one way of looking at the Rashash. So leave those ones out. They don't fit the story that we're saying. Now you have to know how to put that into the Haggadah. Yashas has got a special din. But when you finish 30, we go to 31, then we go to the 3rd cup of wine. Right? So we start, before Birkat HaMazon, we Mechamen Achor 31. See 31 is, then above that 32 in Yashas, 33 is Kavanot Rishon, then 34, 35. And then when we get to Baruch Atah Hashem, Borei Peri Gefen, at the end, we're going to do the Panim. All of these Kavanot basically on the 3rd cup of wine, 39, 40, 30, 67, 38, above, 39, 40 is all the 3rd cup of wine. And what's left then, Rabotai? The 4th cup of wine is Hallel. So before we do Hallel, we mechaven all the Kavanot, and there should be Chal when we do the Hallel. So after 40, we go to 41, which is Galut Rishon, which comes Bekoach Kedushat Hayom again. Above that, 42 in Yashas, right on the top left of the Achor. 43 at the bottom. 44 is Ima. 45 is Ima. That's all the Achor. And then you do the Panim, which is 46. Now you go in order from the bottom. 46 is the bottom left of the page 3. Second, in the last cup, which is Grot the Dart. 46. Above it, 47. And here you do Kavanot Rishon first. You don't have to worry about it being, because we've gone past the worry of the Chitzonim. Above is 48. And then 49 and 50 is Ima. Baruch Adonai le'olam amen v'amen. That's the whole of the Haggadah, basically. And we finished all of that. What did we finish? We finished Abba Mochit Shebaketa. So when you say Nirtzah and you sing the songs, there's zivugim, special zivugim like at the end of Sim Shalom, which is not in the Haggadah. It's in Rav Shmueli's Haggadah. My Rebbe says to do it just b'kavanah, just to know that it happens. Because after Zan and no, after Ima and Abba is done, there's zivugim in Abba and Ima, and there's zivugim in Yasu. And that's the whole koch that comes down at the end of the sing Shir HaShirim. Shir HaShirim is all about, the zivug. Also on Shabbat. Why do we read Shir HaShirim? Because the zivug. That's when the children come into the world. The tzaddikim are born on Friday night. Right? A person is zochet to bring a child from a Friday night. It says it has to be a Talmid Chacham and a tzaddik.
Huh?
Yeah. Visible. Yeah. I don't born conceived from the mitzvah. It is a mitzvah. It's L'shem that. I mean, there's lots of people, I'm sure, that kids even on Friday night, but it could be in a pub or something. I mean, in some hotel room, chas v'shalom, right? We're talking about a person's mechaven, the Shem, to bring a child. There's going to be a tzaddik in the world that can mechaven on it after chatzot on Friday night. So there's zivugim. That's why we have the sing shirim. Ben Shchai says to bring apples, which have got the 3 colors in them. That's the Sudah Friday night. All the koch comes in at that time. The sadeh it's a chaim. It's all the perot of the talmidim, the neshamot of the tzaddikim that come into the world. So it's a sigula. If you bring an apple which has all the 3 colors, red, yellow, and green, right? It's chokhmah being a chesed gran tiferet. To everyone have a child, the son, without the Shem. So any questions on this? Okay, so again, this is a blitz of koach that comes in the world. This is actually a reset. This is the reset. When Klal Yisrael, if they would have carried on for 1 more second, they were going to the 49th, the 50th, right? Tumah. The Leshem explains, no, it's not true. No, it's not true. It says, it's a mistake. He says, according to his pshat. Because if you go low, they're never going to be finished. It's not true, because a year before, when they started the Makot, they were going up and up and up and up. So it could have been going down. This is the opposite. It says that if he wouldn't have taken us out at that time, then we would have been not been able to come out, because there would have been no Tumah in the world left. It's a whole cheshbon that he makes. It's just the other way around how we understand it, right? It says Hashem had to take us out at that time, right? While we still needed to come out. But whatever it is, we understand these 49 gates. They're connected. There's not 49 plus and 49 minus 49. One connected the other, according to the way he explains it. So exactly at that time, we came out, and all the kedusha comes in the world. It's like Lavdil October the 7th, right? We've got a piece on it. The Leshem writes about it. There's a special koch that comes in the world, even if Klal Yisrael are not worthy of it. It comes in automatically, which is why the dinim of Pesach, right? Why they fell down straight after, because it wasn't in their koch. It was the koch of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. That's why we do the 7 hakafot of the Sheva Kotei Brit, because it says we always have Brit Avot. So Yam Suf as well was Brit Avot. That eventually we will deserve, it will only be in the future. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Go'el Otanu even when we don't deserve it. And that's why I come to the dinim, and that's why I had to be Kriyat Yam Suf 7 days later as well. So other ex-cheshbon. But what is important, if we can just finish with this, is that there is a blitz of or and kedusha that comes on Pesach night. Comes whether we do the Kavanot or don't do Kavanot, it's going to come down. If you do the Kavanot and you come into it, then it's flying in the air. Then it's Simon Volodin only danced once a year, and that was on Pesach night with his Machrim in Yeshiva, in the Volodin Yeshiva. Not even on Simchat Torah, not on Purim. The only time he ever danced was he danced around after the Seder with the Bachurim. Because to understand the Kedusha of Pesach night is so powerful. It's a blitz, and then straight after it's taken away, so to speak. You have to build it again through the Omer. And the Shem Mishmor with this says that the Zohar Kadosh says that the Avodah of Pesach is the Nahama Dehemnuta. It's to have Emunah and Hashem. They have to come to the recognition as a Borei Olam. Take away all the doubts. But by the time they got to Shvi Shel Pesach, Shivcha Vayam Lo Shara, he saw even what Yeches Bebuzi didn't see in the Maseh Merkava. Right? So there's not a question of believing in Hashem. It's a question of fighting the Yetzer Hara. After you know there's Hashem in the world, you have to still fight the Yetzer Hara. We're still like Behemoth. So you need the Shiva from Shvi Shel Pesach till the end of the Omer to build all the Avodah against the bad Midot, to purify the good Midot. That's the Avodah of the Omer. There'll be the Goel Israel. That's why that's the reason. It's got nothing to do only with our zechut. Obviously, the more we can do, we can help Klal Yisrael to invoke it. But at the end of the day, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu presses the button, the Geulah comes. שנזכה בעזרת השם, ושם מלאכה מן הזבחים הפסחים, הרגיל מזבחך, אמן כן יהי רצון. Need to stop it. Stop. Sharing.